If I were to be on Chopped, this is when I would start my panic attack. That's a little bit more challenging than I expected it to be. Welcome to New York City. Welcome to my apartment. My name is Lucas, and I am a Chinese guy that makes food in New York City. Twisted asked me to make a Thanksgiving meal. The twist is said box. Apparently in this box, there are probably 16 ingredients. The idea is that I should incorporate as many of these ingredients in the meal as possible. The more I incorporate, the more impressive I am. I don't know how many points I get for that. Maybe it's just a pat on the back. I guess it's time to open it up. So this is a little ominous. Good, Coleman's mustard, easy. So this is mincemeat. Malt loaf sounds a bit like meatloaf, also not mincemeat inside, but there are raisins, more preserved fruits, Daddy's favorite brown sauce. Do they make t-shirts? They make t-shirts, right? Genuinely, I have no idea. I don't even know what this is. It's bread sauce, tea, right? This seems to be the least of my problems. We have 16 delicious ingredients here in front of us. We're going to pick up more than 16 delicious ingredients at the shop. We're gonna wrap it all up, bring it to the kitchen, and we're gonna get cooking. Well, this poses a problem. My home. That's that. I'm in the right place. And this production is a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. Thank you, Mom, for the apron, by the way. You spent a long time looking for a good-looking one.
AB, Mark.
I love Thanksgiving. I really love Thanksgiving. I really, really do like Thanksgiving. I'm not talking myself into like Thanksgiving. I actually do like Thanksgiving. It's pretty new to me because I got to this country like a couple of years ago, but I am obsessed with the idea of spending all day cooking for 15 minutes of eating. Twisted really wants this to be a disaster. They want me to screw up because I hadn't seen these ingredients before this morning. I haven't tasted most of them. I don't really actually know how to pronounce half of them, but I'm hoping that this is gonna work out. So I think I know what I'm doing. To start us off, we're gonna start with the core tenets of Thanksgiving: turkey, stuffing, and gravy. Some ingredients are gonna add surprising, interesting flavors. Other ingredients are just going to reinforce those flavors that are already in those traditional dishes. We'll get to it. All right. Looks like we're cooking. Here's a 13-pound turkey. In anticipation of cooking today, I salted it and put a little bit of sugar on it as well. So it's been sitting for a day and a half so that you can try to get as crispy of a skin as possible. I believe in dry curing your birds. I think it makes the best turkey. The main ingredient here that we're going to be adding is the tea, the PG tips, and the gravy granule. Gravy granules, perfect. Wait a second. It's not that salty. We're gonna throw our seasoning herb mix in here. It's gonna be rosemary, thyme, oregano, Sichuan peppercorns, black peppercorns, the granules. I'm gonna open up some of these teas. Oh, they're already ground. Maybe I don't have to do that anymore. I'm gonna open a bunch of them in here. I mean, it smells. It's a little flat, but it is. Hopefully it'll do what it's supposed to do. Okay. I'm just trying to break up the peppercorns and some of the spices to get it a little bit more fine so that the flavor can get into the turkey as quickly as possible. This is a bunch of garlic powder, paprika, a little bit of onion powder. So I'm just making a generic, well, not so generic, PG Tips spice rub. The rest of the turkey, by the way, we've roasted this in our oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. Can you believe it? This is going to help reinforce the stock that we're going to be making for the gravy. We're going to start on the underside. My original thought was tea smoked duck, and I was thinking I could use a tea with some wood chips and smoke this inside of the oven, but this is not my home kitchen, so I don't want to screw it up and make people smell for weeks and weeks and weeks. After this, it's just gonna get a little bit of oil over the top just to help get that rendering process started. That looks good. That looks like something, right? A little bit of oil on the bottom of the pan, obviously, because you don't want your turkey to stick, but this should be mostly good to go. So the turkey is going to bake for around 2 hours. We're going to go by temperature. I'm going to try to get it to 160, 165 degrees before we finish it. So many Thanksgiving dishes are built off of a beautiful stock. I like to use turkey stock if you have it available. The store-bought turkey stock oftentimes is perfectly okay. If you want to give it a little bit more depth, it's nice to add some fresh vegetables and aromatics to the mix. Give it a little bit of oil. The other thing for the turkey, and we can talk about this because the turkey's already in the oven, is to make a little bit of a glaze. A fancy French word for a glaze, or for this type of glaze, might be a gastrique, which is roughly a 1-to-1 ratio of vinegar and sugar. That's where this malt vinegar comes in. Malt vinegar, good stuff. Fish and chips, I suppose. Malt vinegar is so delicious. It's had this like nice ale-like quality. I'm gonna bring all of that to a boil. So in here, oil is hot, some onions. This is 2 onions cut up into chunks, as well as this ginger, sage, rosemary, and bay leaves. When it's starting to get soft, I'll add the celery. So you want some food science. So the more you smell of food, chances are those flavor pieces are leaving the pot and they're going elsewhere. They're not staying inside of the stock. Celery can go in. Turkey bits go in. The whole box of stock is going to go in, and then we're going to bring this to a boil and let it simmer. And then we will use the result of this liquid in the gravy that we're going to build off of onions, Marmite. What else have we got? And a couple other things. Unfortunately, I've already screwed up. I forgot to put the mustard that I said I was going to put the mustard in the turkey, in the marinade, but that's okay. That's okay. We're going to use the mustard for the glaze. So here is the malt vinegar plus sugar reduction. We're going to stick to a little bit of honey to give it a little bit of that floral complexity. 2 or 3 tablespoons there. A little bit of mirin, a bit of sweetness, and a little bit of alcohol. A little bit of abalone sauce. This is the savory backbone. It's a really nice sort of umami, seafoody type of base. Since this isn't a recipe demo and we can do whatever we want, we're going to give it a little bit of stock just to help the viscosity here. When this is a little bit runnier than you want it to be, that's when you want to take it off the heat. Give it the mustard it deserves. I'm doing maybe about a tablespoon. This is just that punch that will be on the outside of the turkey. Coleman's is my favorite mustard brand, to be honest. Delicious. Delicious. My mother's philosophy, which is delicious plus delicious equals delicious, associated with that, if there are things that are delicious in the world, you can replicate them in contexts that they are not originally presented in. Which is to say, honey mustard is a delicious chicken nugget dipping sauce. Why not use that inspiration, that flavor profile, in a glaze? The more it tastes like McDonald's, the better. Winning. So we're going to sprinkle a little bit of the leftover spices into the glaze to make sure that turkey gets as much of this delicious spice mix flavor as possible. Set this aside, let it cool, let it thicken up a bit, and then we're going to start basting the turkey with this after it's been cooking for, I want to say, an hour and a half or 2. We'll have to see. Turkey's in the oven. While that's happening, we're going to make some stuffing and we're going to make some gravy. To start the stuffing, we have to cook some of our aromatics to give it a little bit of that flavor, which in this case today is going to be some onions, a little bit of celery. I really do love celery. But this is going to go in with some butter, tablespoon and a half, maybe a little bit more. Do we want garlic in this? Anyone want garlic in this? Yeah, a little bit of garlic, right? In this, we're going to put a little bit of our sage, rosemary, as well as a generous amount of thyme. We're not trying to break this down, we're not trying to caramelize this, we're just simply trying to get that flavor activated. How do you know the flavor's activated? You know that your aromatics are activated and you can smell the thing. A little bit more of that notorious tea seasoning, or our earlier PG tips seasoning, to mimic the fact that this stuffing was cooked inside of the bird, to round out the flavor and tie the whole meal together. Once this is barely starting to pick up color, I'm going to turn this off and this is ready to go. And in our large mixing bowl, I'm going to crack 2 eggs and add around 2 cups of broth. This broth, it's important that it's cold. You don't want to cook the eggs with hot broth. That is the liquid part of this. Our toasted sourdough is going to go into the bowl as well. All of this gorgeous activated sage, rosemary, garlic, vestiges of tea It's like wet, seasoned garlic bread. Delicious. And the rest of this here too, the rest of the stock. We're also going to add the difficult pickles and the delicious minced meat. I mean, looking at these things, there must be a synergy there, right? Except they taste on the opposite end of the spectrum. Minced meat. I know it's used in pie. It's super aromatic. I mean, it's like a dried fruit relish, right? So good. Oh my God, that's so good. I've never had this before. I don't know if I'm expecting something super salty or something like lacto-fermented vegetables, or if it's like more gravy, like, it smells like chop suey. I will admit, that's a little bit more challenging than I expected it to be. Here we go. Branson pickle, you know what, for good luck. That is that. The mince meat. I'm very excited about this. I think this is gonna be delicious. 3 or 4 of that. And to finish it off, the ever so delightful, deliciously squidgy energy. I'm just gonna dice this a little bit smaller. It is quite sweet, but the texture should complement the stuffing texture. It's a little difficult cutting this. From watching the Great British Bake Off, my understanding of the word squidgy is that it is unpleasantly damp and or moist. Quite excited for this. It is odd to eat a loaf of bread-ish thing that doesn't give you any textural resistance. That's what it tastes like. I had a really hard time cutting this with my cleaver, so here is, I found a serrated steak knife. If I were to be on Chopped, this is when I would start my panic attack. So this is about 3/4 of the loaf of the deliciously squidgy energy. I'm gonna save this in case I do need a little bit more deliciously squidgy energy. The rest of the stuff that's gonna go in here, some roughly chopped pistachios. It smells quite good, actually. It really feels like I know what I'm doing here. So this can actually go into a baking tray. You want a little bit of verticality with your stuffing. You want some of it to be squidgy in the bottom. Oh my God, I did say because you want a decent amount of squidge on the bottom and a good amount of crisp on the top. This is going to go into the oven at 350 degrees or so. Give it about 30 minutes, and then afterwards crank that temperature up to get the top crisp for another 20 minutes. Good stuff. Get it? Never mind. Turkey's in the oven, stuffing's in the oven. While that's happening, we're going to strain off our stock that we started earlier, and we're going to build a delicious onion-based gravy. Most of the time, people like to have gravy that is smooth, but I actually don't mind those strips of onion in a gravy. And we're not going for a French onion soup type of caramelization here. It doesn't have to take 3 hours. Have you guys seen that website where you just watch grass grow? I'm going to strain the reinforced turkey stock off while we wait for this, because I don't want any of this stuff in the gravy, but I do want all of that flavor. Press all of this out. I think that's it. Onions are almost, they've began to soften. They haven't picked up any color yet, so the Marmite is going to go in to help build out some of that umami flavor. Ooh. Oh. Delicious. On the back of the bottle it says wake up your taste buds, because this is a little bit of, certainly a little bit of a waking up. So I'm gonna be gentle with it. A teaspoon, I think. Oh, you can smell it, everyone can smell it. A little bit of like soy paste oyster sauce sort of flavor too. So this is the texture that I like my onions at for the gravy. So I'm going to take this off the heat and actually scrape out all of it into the stock. So I can use this saucepan, I can reset the saucepan and build a roux. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. So once this butter is bubbling, 2 tablespoons of flour. We're going for a light blonde-ish brown. Reinforced stock with the onions and the Marmite. There shouldn't be too much salt in here because the salinity should just come from the stock. Oh, it's actually quite, oh my God, it's actually quite flavorful. A little bit of the instant gravy. Gorgeous. Feel it thickening up. Okay, time to finish this gravy off. First of all, Daddy's brown sauce. Oh my goodness. Super acidic. I'm gonna give it a couple of tablespoons just to complicate the flavor profile here a little bit. And just to let it steep as we wait for the turkey to finish cooking, we're going to add some of the minced meat. It reminds me a lot of Chinese dried fruits like Chinese dragon eye or longan. And a lot of the gravy and a lot of brown sauces that I make for poultry have a little bit of fruitiness and as the sweetness to round off the more savory flavors. Good stuff. A little bit of salt later on when we're done with turkey, and I think this is perfect. Since the bird is almost ready to go, all we need to do is get a nice skin on it. We're gonna turn the oven temperature up and we're going to be basting it with the malt vinegar and honey mustard glaze that we made earlier. Here it is, PG Tips rubbed turkey with a malt vinegar glaze, stuffing with minced meat, and a Marmite gravy with Daddy's brown sauce. I think those are the main ingredients in here, but Thanksgiving isn't about the individual dishes, it's about everything coming together. So I suppose it's about time that we taste all the components, right? I'm a little nervous about the flavor profile of the gravy, but everything points towards it being okay. Let me tell you why it's good. You know what I like about this the most is that it still looks like Thanksgiving, but the flavor profiles are twisted a little bit. I would love to see a little bit more smokiness, a little bit more of that tea flavor in the turkey if we were able to marinate it a little bit longer, but it's super, super flavorful. The key to it is to make sure that the center is moist and it's cooked correctly, and the outside is spiced and seasoned in an interesting way, and I think we achieved that right here. None of that sort of like stinkiness that people associate with Marmite is in the gravy anymore. It's cooked into the onions, it's totally incorporated, and the little bit of the minced meat and the Daddy's brown sauce at the end really tie it together, take the gravy to the next level. I think people would be pleasantly surprised with this gravy. And then for the stuffing, which is my favorite thing, it's got the crispy bits on top. Oh, you can see that even the little raisin bits in the minced meat. And hopefully I can get a small chunk of the squidgy energy right there. A little bit of gravy on top of that as well, I suppose. The backbone of the stuffing is still there, which is a nice stock, plentiful herbs, two different textures. But the squidgy malt cake is mostly in the background, but the mincemeat and the fruits are so nice. It's a really well-balanced dish. This might actually make it into the rotation this year for Thanksgiving at home. This might actually be something I'd be happy and proud to show my family. Keep you updated on that. Round 1, episode 1 is a dub. I don't love to gloat, but this tastes quite good. These otherwise surprising British ingredients, in my opinion, honestly, were integrated quite seamlessly into the flavor profiles that Thanksgiving traditionally presents. I'm pretty happy with this. I know I'm a little bit more worried about what's to come next, but check out episode 2 if you want to see how I get on with making a green bean casserole with mushy peas, a little bit of a cranberry sauce with chutney and mint sauce, and what I call pistachio fluff, also known as Watergate salad, with a little bit of ambrosia rice pudding in a cup. Or if you want to see it plated very uglily, watch out for that as well. Episode 2 is coming next.